Hello, everyone. I'm P. Renata. Welcome to Rappler Talk. Our guest today is a Mindanao civic leader. She is one of the most known faces running for the Senate, coming from Mindanao. Her name is Samira Gutoc, and she's here with us today to tell us about her Senate bid and all of the controversies also that have come along with her announcement that she's running for senator, and of course her platform of governance, the laws that she will prioritize if she gets into the Senate. Welcome, Samira.
Hi, Pia. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon.
Yes. So, Samira, alam natin you've had a rough start to your candidacy. I mean, the day you filed your COC, inassail na kaagad yung party that you ran under. And this is mostly because, diba, coming from Ocho Derecho in 2019, you're now with Isko Moreno, Action Democratico. Many people had opinions about that. You've weathered that. You've had to answer so many questions about that. But of course, it's not all we're going to tackle. We also really want to know, coming from Mindanao, a woman civic leader, someone who represents, diba, a very, very important sector of Philippine society, misrepresented, or people who are not don't always have a voice, especially in our laws. And now you promise to stand up for them, for the women, for Muslims, for Mindanaoans. So definitely your candidacy is something a lot of people will be watching out for. So to start our interview, we want to, of course, talk about the controversies you've had to face the past few days. We want also to get your side on them. First, yung dun sa controversial remarks from your standard bearer, Isko Moreno. We're just curious kasi yesterday you told me that you did call him out for it. Like, hindi ka agree dun sa use of certain words, that you were in fact hurt with his use of yellow tard, inidoro, fake leader, fake caller. Just curious, have you spoken to Isko Moreno about his outburst since then?
Yeah. Before Batangas, Pia, we he was very thoughtful naman na he reached out, no, na sabi niya sa each one of us may pinanggagalingan, and he knew really my discomfort. It was actually Doc Willie Ong na sabi niya, Sam, nasabi mo ba kay Mayor yung ano mo, discomfort mo? So sabi ko, yes, I did try to reach out by my absence absence in an event, yeah, right after the week of that tirada. And ito na, Pia. I mean, we want to be healing. So I took that literally po. I'm here na alam niya akong a former opposition leader or opposition pa rin naman in so many of the issues of the day, no, that oppose human rights violations, etc. So alam niya, nakasama na niya ako. In the same boat na kami. Di ba, Pia? So I call him out by my absence in his events.
And since then, may sinabi ba siya about it? Like, did he comment on your absence, for instance?
Well, yun nga, yung sa Batangas po na he parang he pointed to me, pressured si Samira. So sabi ko, akala ko tapos na kami nag-usap na ayoko yung parang nabibigla ako eh. So, yeah, I get it. His nature na he wants to also be, he's concerned actually doon sa mental pressure. Di ba, Noli de Castro was actually one of those na naapektuhan online. And actually ako din po online, and I told you na mental health to me is something that I stand for right now. And if I can, through this Rappler na first ko na Zoom with you, Pia, again, after years of being away, no, sa public, is mental health ng candidates is as well, sana po makita. Of course, syempre okay lang po, supporters and non-supporters, call me out, na may mga ano kayo, emotionality about us coming candidates. But we also have our emotional well-being din. Sana po maintindihan niyo rin po kami where we're coming from. And I understood, Yorme, meron unity talks na I'm not privy of, na I came to Manila, may mga nag-usap sila ni na Vice President Lenny, I think 4 times pa. So there was, I think, some who got somewhere na upon reflection, Pia, sabi ko, yeah, I mean, he was kind of emotional, and then baka towards me, pati ako na ano niya, point to me, oh Sam, pati ikaw napapressure ka na harass. Wala namang harassment po. Please, wala pong harassment, no? To the supporters, hindi po siya ng akusa. I mean, this is to clarify, it wasn't a physical harassment or none whatsoever.
So na-mention mo si Noli de Castro, are you saying that the pressures online was what convinced him to drop out of the Senate race?
I get this point na parang there was a point na I think on social media, but yeah, this is I didn't get to, of course, reach out to him, so I wouldn't be kind of in that position, in the right position to actually share. But definitely for me, social media has also an impact to me. I am very, very honored po, humbled, Rappler even and all, Twitter, very, very part of my family, no, since I was online in the Twitter life. And for now, parang, yes, I go in and out, pero not anymore full time because, yes, I'm hurt. I'm hurt po.
You mentioned nga yung mental anguish and the hurt you felt from the backlash from the controversy surrounding your candidacy. I mean, people make an issue out of it, right? But you've said that you have your reasons for joining Action. So, given this, do you regret joining Action? Do you regret joining Isko Slate?
In the past 2 years po, Pia, let me say it out there. And we were organizing Liberal Party and then Sambayan along the way, human rights forums, marami pong chapters organizing worldwide. So please po, yung nag-miss, if I said na lack of organizing and palagi yan na po yung nakakote from yung LP, please correct it po. No, they were organizing. What I meant was that we needed to go already to the candidates as people, to people who wanted to run LGUs, candidates, dynasties down the ground. Sorry po, I have to mention dynasties because that's the reality of the day. They're there in the communities, in the provinces, in the rural areas. So we needed to really go down. And the past 2 years po were emotionally a bit anguishing for me. Anguishing, is that the word? Pia, because 20, almost 20, if not 11 or 12 supporters ko, very, very strong supporters. Iloilo elder na sultan along the way, Mandalo yung leader ko, they passed away. And before sa Sunday arrival ko, Monday oath taking ko, sa Action Demokratiko / Mayor Yorme, two of the closest aunts ko, kapatid ng papa ko, na foster mother ko in my life, passed away. So parang, sorry if a meltdown is somewhere along the way for me, but no, I think I made a reasoned decision based on circumstances na pandemic is the central issue of the day. I do need some physical anchor as a candidate to be, knowing that I am, sabi mo nga, the second only to be na Muslim sakali na babaeng senator and the first na nakaganito, hijabi in the Philippine history. So I had to make some, is that the bad word, calculated decisions. And of course, Liberal Party was there for me. Pia, please, wag naman po yung pinagsasabong-sabong kami. Of course, there were concerns sa akin. Then Yorme is saying, because Yorme didn't know naman my Liberal Party or involvement in the past 2 years na we were really like deeply in going to communities, Zamboanga, etc. So this is a journey. It's a journey that I made an Action Democratico my home because some of them were fellow youth that I supported Senatorial in my youth. And there was a space for an Execom member by August that they said, Samira, could we invite you to the Execom position? And I believe in the 5 core philosophies, inclusivity. Kaya nga ako sumisingit sa national to be included, sama-sama po to combat discrimination. Di ba po? Na-follow nyo ako, Pia, on the anti-discrimination. On the 1,000 cuts, we're talking about women's issues. Naku.
Okay, so you're saying that your decision to join Action, you don't regret it kasi you feel, what is it with Action that you felt was not there with Ocho Direction?
We weren't an echo chamber. I mean, di ba po yun ang critic niyo sa amin na, I mean, not you, but others na we were together, human rights dreamers in the Liberal Party. We were dreaming for a better country. We want to question territorial entry ng China. But then, parang sometimes we weren't listened to. And I felt I wasn't listened to because agad-agad nililabel ako. And of course, I would never regret that Liberal Party was my mother party of my first entry in politics. It taught me as an independent candidate adopted by them. Pero going to Action gave me a chance to interface the youth, candidates of down the line, councilor, mayor, governors po, that would allow me to be given minutes to share on issues na hindi na kami so-called echo chamber na sinasabi niyo kayo lang nag-uusap, mga pare-pareho lang kayo ng idea ng human rights we needed to expand First instruction ni Vice President when we lost 2019 in the headquarters was try to organize your ranks, strengthen your ranks, coalition building. So maybe hindi ako dun sa organizing our ranks fully to the max until now, but I went. Coalition building naman to, di ba? Action and Liberal are sister parties. And just because publicly Yorme calls out Vice President, hindi na po hindi doesn't mean na hindi na kami sister parties. We believe in a lot of commonalities as parties.
Mm. Yes, I want to also ask about that actually because yun nga parang actually a lot of members, officers of Action have actually been involved, for example, in the Aquino administration.
Yes.
Isko Moreno also has some similarities with the beliefs of the Liberal Party. Diba? Medyo may may parang mga lines blurred at some point. So I want to ask about Isko Moreno. Do you think it's fair for people to be calling him Duterte 2.0?
No, coming in this 2 months, almost 2 months now, 1 month na nag-usap kami, and then prior to, he talked. Ang first entry point ko nga when we met was a program on recognition and anti-discrimination, and that was about about a cemetery where people, the Muslims, can be buried because of the COVID pandemic. Napakalaking bagay po that in Luzon, NCR, there was no cemetery except in Bulacan or Zagaray, na pwede pong sa NCR where almost 100,000 or so Muslim Filipinos are. So, yes, he might not be an ideologue, but he knows inclusion, diversity. He's an NCPAD, UP public ad guy. So, yes, he might not be that, sasabihin natin, to the PhD level na very theoretical, no, yung mga explanation niya, but he knows the heart of the issues NCPAD nga, public ad ang kanyang nakuha rin na executive courses. So we kind of met on certain things, and I felt passionately that if this guy could be influenced on my issues of women, gender, and development, this guy would listen and not be a Duterte guy. And I didn't see that from him, that he is not a Duterte puppet. If that's is that the word that people are using, Duterte enabler? No.
Some are saying Duterte light, di ba? Parang pinakawala daw ni Duterte. So you're saying Isko Moreno, he is his own candidate. You're saying that, what else do you think makes him a good president or a good presidential candidate, you think?
He's young. He's 46. He won't be vulnerable to COVID ASAP. That's very practical. Yes, of course, his youth is an added asset, no, for a young mayor like him, and to showcase, no, what can be done in a LGU, local government, na melting pot ng buong Pilipinas. Lahat ng opisina, karamihan na dito sa Metro Manila. If you can do it in Manila, you can do it in Marawi, which had to have 5 years of rehabilitation. Can you imagine if there would be a fast tracking ng mga kinakailangan? ASAP, bilis kilos talaga. Bilis kilos. So in my 2-year quarantine forums, there is a research to the effect that people will be gravitating towards what is results driven. Okay, the young people, some of you might not agree with me, guys, online, but we need right now to address any second na may mamamatay po at ako ay tumatambay sa COVID ward. Baka you might say I'm theoretically speaking, pero ako tambay ako sa COVID wards. And I know that leadership, literally to the ground, and decision making that's with political will, kailangan beyond 2022, because crisis recovery is the next game plan after this COVID.
And why do you think Moreno can be the one to provide that quick leadership over, for example, Panfilo Lacson or Lenny Robredo or Manny Pacquiao?
He's not caught between any of the, how do you call, the lines that draw polarization. I'm a victim of that, di ba po? Wala akong masabi. Agad-agad, DDS will bring me down. And so, yes, it might be practical that I had to be in a location where I could be heard by both, by all colors, and put value sa kababaihan, kabataan, which I invested 20 years of my work and my life in empowerment work, no, in the community level. So, Yorme, echo that. Action Demokratiko, building inclusion. O di kung ikaw ang maninindigan, although yes, sideline tayo sa word on yellow tard, inodoro, pero if you are able to bring together all the colors, supporters, or even if you win, no, you bring supporters of the BBM to the fold and get them to see that HR is as much, human rights is as much an issue of the BBM, and redressing martial law grievances is as much as an issue, then that is something that will heal. But of course, hindi naman nawawala daw yung accountability. Sabi ko lang, baka yung word po na account, ano ba yung Tagalog na accountability? Mai-repeat rin po yung ganong, hindi makalimutan po yung accountability sa martial law.
Lastly, on Isko Moreno, before we move on to your senatorial platform, no, you're representing Mindanaoans, and we also know si Isko Moreno, medyo mahina siya sa Mindanao, di ba? Manila boy, his parents are from Visayas, but usually in mga pre-electoral surveys, he doesn't do very well in Mindanao, which is your home province, your home region, right? So why should Mindanaoans vote Isko Moreno for president?
So I'm not definitely kung kinuha niya ako out of political capital na kailangan niya, I'm not that one versus a Mangudadato versus pwede si RG, no? Now Deputy Speaker Hataman. I don't have a captive vote. I am not part of any so-called dynasty. But he took me on, recognizing Action Democratico took me on. What I brought forth, siguro 2019, and Mindanao being also my location, where stronghold of affinity towards, shall we say na Pia, they have this, kasi youth leader ako dito sa Mindanao and having to deal with the LGUs, they have this affinity of one Mindanao. So makikipag-anuan sila yan. It's either Pacman or Sara. But then you show that in between, tayo ay mahirap, pareho tayo. And poorest of the poor, Mindanao, out of the 16 regions, some top 5 are from Mindanao. Outside of Zamboanga, Cagayan de Oro, Davao. Makaka-relate po yung kwento eh. And that is, I think, the social media support na kinakailangan namin po. Where the story tells, where the what has been done tells, reaches to the bundok, to the community, through the radio. Yan po. Those are the ways to penetrate Mindanao. And I think this is the test kasi pandemic nga and hindi tayo pwede masyado sa mass gathering. So that'll be a place where he can penetrate Mindanao. I truly believe that radio and mass media Mindanao can help him jumpstart, penetrate the community.
How much do you think Isko Moreno understands the issues confronting Mindanao?
Mindanao is one of his narratives when we met, and one of his YouTube videos where he talked about a viral stories of the Bangsamoro heroes of the past, no? And that's one of the statues nga in the City Hall na inakyat niya up forth is one of the Moro heroes So sabi niya this is putting it into beyond the word of mouth. Talagang ginagawa niya. Symbolic lang, yes, symbolic. But talks to the people na melting pot nga Mindanao, Pilipinas ang Manila, di pakita. Plus, teaching history, no? Teaching history by his seminars. And yun nga po, sa ilang forums, he talks about it, Mindanao history, Bangsamoro particularly, about their existence prior to the colonial period. So he knows historical part of our Philippine na hindi masyadong part of our DepEd books. So he talks about it and how, sabi nga niya, hoping Samira can provide the face nga and place for Muslims in the Philippine political arena.
Okay. So punta naman tayo doon, Samira, no? Many people really think that we need more lawmakers from Mindanao and Muslim leaders also, a Muslim voice in Mindanao, a woman's voice in the Senate. As someone who aspires to be such a voice in the Senate, what would be the first bill you would craft as senator?
Internally displaced persons has been pending for a long decade or so in our Philippine Congress. Internally displaced persons is not just victims of conflict and war, no? They also can cover natural disasters. So Philippines being part of the top 10 po sa ating natural disaster, climate change affected na country from around the world. Therefore, ready po tayo sa sakuna. And even as much as COVID pandemic, dapat po. So this internally displaced persons puts primary responsibility for the state to be ready and giving ayuda, not just through a Bayanihan Want to Heal Act, but really ready na upfront. Not waiting for a law because you already have an internally displaced persons when disaster, when wars, when conflicts, when anti-terrorism operations comes, and some person gets forced outside his residence, meron na pong readying shelter, ayuda, down the line wash. water and sanitation health, WASH. Pinaka-importante po sa kababaihan at mga bata, the victims of conflict po, natural disaster, naturally po yung ina na naghahanap ng pagkain, na ina naghahanap ng paraan paano po masalba ang kanyang pamilya. So internally displaced persons can address a lot of it. And of course, looking into barangay health workers, we don't have a framework or a law that actually institutionalizes, allocates salaries sa barangay health workers. This would be our link towards COVID prevention kasi sila po yung nakaka-educate, sila po yung contact tracers, sila po yung direct sa bedroom, classroom, home na mga taong kausap ng DOH, LGU, ang barangay health worker. So barangay health worker law, wala po. At kailangan po.
Okay. We also had, kinammemorate rin ng government yung quote-unquote liberation of Marawi last week. And how would you improve the lives of Filipinos in Marawi, in Mindanao, as a senator?
Of course, yeah, that would be the primary din na legislation na I put into, di ba, Pia, na nabantayan mo, Rappler, that this is the worst urban warfare. And that's why I left po the President Duterte's government, was really to look into humanitarian crisis, knowing that government nga didn't have ASAP, the structures to address missing persons, dead survivors of the dead, and wala po talagang cash assistance agad. Yes, DILG po, you were giving 10,000, pero hindi po naging sustainable. Parang kailangan pang yung mga natatakot na families to come forward. So yeah, along that line, kailangan po yung Marawi compensation bill that was not expressed as a priority of our president, sadly 2 days ago, hindi niya po nasabi that, although he said reward lands or properties or itong ancestral domains to the locals, kasi nga yan ang isang contentious issue, yung land ownership.
Okay. Di naman tayo sa drug war, no? This will continue to be an issue in these elections, but also in the 2022, when we elect a president in the next administration. And speaking to your constituents, no, many mothers and children were victimized by the drug war. How would you help them as senator?
Because crisis recovery po after pandemic is something that also is central, no, sa ating planning. Babantayan po yan po, no? Yung pinaka affected din po, no, sa ating drug war would be those widows who are survivors of their husbands, their loved ones na hindi po nakakuha ng any form of subsidy, program support, even protection from government because they're afraid. They're physically, emotionally, with mental health pa na just like a Marawi siege survivor na minsan hindi na makatulog ng tama because it's nightmares, no? So dapat po talaga it is an interrelated interagency support, DOH. But I don't know if mental health really is part, no, of a DOH institutionalized support, no? DOH and support from even DILG, even because of the local protection nila dito sa community, no? That's why I called out po, remember in our debate 2019, that yes, you're killing the drug addicts, but you're not even providing support for their surviving families. So yes po, we need to look into how they would be able to access support not from government without fear and able to get that sustained support as well. Hindi lang po one time, no, na ayuda, kundi talagang how to reintegrate back to society. And I know there's a lot of fear among them.
How about on the side of justice? Kasi while we talk about giving aid to these families left by slain drug war victims, what about the justice that's been left hanging? Do you think that the Duterte government is currently doing enough to assure that justice is administered, that, yung mga police who abuse their power, maybe vigilante killers who maybe were working with this policy in mind, do you think that the government is doing enough to catch these and ensure justice? And what would you do as senator?
We're parading always the drug suspects. We're parading the drug suspects. But are we parading corrupt cops? Are we parading corrupt cops as an example to others with authority? Di ba po, there's a principle that those with firearms are those with higher authority, higher ascendancy of moral authority dapat. And they should be made an example sa kanilang kamalian. Lalo pa matakot ang mga pulis, especially sa mga probinsya. Alam ko po ito, binantayan ko po yung Nadia Kasar na na torture or pinatay to the burning of a Muslim woman in Nueva Ecija, where 7 men, including 4 police persons, are accused. So yes, it might be related to drugs. I wouldn't know, but the issue is police persons in a very suspect position. At this should create a, a lesson to other police persons. So yeah, hindi much, not much on that level na nakikita ko.
Not much meaning you're not satisfied with what the government is doing about the drug war?
At tinatakot po yung maliliit eh. Pinatay na nga eh. Oh, so, no, biblooper niyo naman ako ng pro-drug war. Pinag-ano nga eh, sinabi nga natin, failure in a way na hindi nga, success in a way na tinakot mo yung mga tao. In a very sarcastic way, yung nasabi ko, no, 2 weeks ago. So, after this administration, do you think na magbalikan na naman yung supply on the road, no? So it is the source, it's the customs, it's the shipments that come in. Yan, bantayan mo na yun. Malilitang na and there's no accountability towards people who died on the road. Sino pumatay doon sa, even if sabi nila hindi police ang pumatay.
Okay, just quickly to clarify, so I'm a blooper. So you're saying na you were mistakenly represented as supporting the drug war. Can you just clarify your position on that?
So the ANC interview with Karen was that nagkasabay yung question, if I recall, failure. What is the failure and success of the PRRD administration?
Okay.
At nasabi ko drug war, hindi na qualify if it's the failure or the success. And she says success, and said success in a way na it was creating fear sa mga tao. It doesn't mean I condoned it. It doesn't mean it was okay for me. It was the only thing that I could think of at that moment. Yes, it was a blooper. Yes. But the Bangsamoro peace process, I said, would have been something that is remarkable, something because I had personal knowledge, and the Bangsamoro peace process effectively sealed, no, yung ating kaguluhan, hopefully, with the MILF rebels.
I asked this question also of Isko Moreno. We had an interview also. Kasi ngayon the Philippines is currently withdrawn from the ICC, right? And it's because the president did not want to participate in the process that might basically implicate him. So as senator, you would have the power to vote yes to the Philippines rejoining ICC. Would you join your yes to that? If ever it came to a vote, would you agree to the Philippines rejoining ICC?
For the past 20 years as an international studies student, no? Since at the age of 21, alam ko na Philippines is a primary actor in global affairs at kapayapaan at lalo pa human rights defense. So Philippines has had a long tradition of human rights representation in international arena. So yes, international criminal courts, dapat tingnan yung kanyang participation informal terms. Kailangan talaga na formality, kailangan nandyan. Because this is also in respect to our long tradition of having been part in the United Nations, ICC, and other related agencies in the world to protect the various sectors, no, of our society.
So you would vote for rejoining ICC. Would you also support, or would you call on the government to cooperate with the ICC chief prosecutor as he investigates Duterte's or Duterte officials' possible involvement in drug war abuses?
Yes, I understand that the withdrawal of this current administration is that they feel that the ICC might not be fair to them. But International Criminal Court is not under a jurisdiction of a national country like us. And so we participate because we believe, no, in the common ideals natin sa iba't ibang bansa, na anybody that needs to be investigated, a leader of a country, a leader of other countries that is to be investigated, tayo ay sumusuporta. At may nakita po sila sa ating bansa, we support a thorough investigation, an impartial investigation into what happened in the drug war. So at least that also supports, no, in any case, a national investigation, an international investigation as well. That would complement, no, each other.
Okay. I'll also be asking you medyo parang quick shot of issues that people are hoping would be legislated. Parang may many different views on this. For example, legislation on abortion. Can we just know your stance on this? Are you pro or anti-abortion?
Abortion po, may pagka-liberal po ako in the sense that if it's on the emergency level that the woman has to be choosing between her baby and her.
Okay.
It's not an all-out yes. It's not an all-out yes. Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
life
your
of
own
the woman, the life of the mother has to be saved, then abort po.
Okay, so you're only pro-abortion if it's to save the life of the mother, correct?
Yes po.
How about divorce? Are you pro or anti-divorce?
Very open-minded po ako dito, sirs, in the Catholic Church because alam ko that statistics show that women victims of violence have a difficulty of going out of a very abusive relationship. At ito po ay evidenced by my going around during that 2019, solo parents, babae, still inside the bonds of marriage, they can't get out of it, pero yung lalaki naman nag-asawa in a relationship.
So you are tama ba pro divorce? Okay. Same-sex marriage.
No po, and I think no explanation asked, but I have recognized po civil union of as a concern because they would want that their contractual agreements, whether it be property rights, whether it be kung ano nung liabilities and assets arrangement nila, couple can be agreed upon, can be recognized by certain bodies, no? So importante sa kanila yung civil union. Of course, this is subject to a study, but same-sex marriage, you know where I'm coming from.
Okay, pero pag civil union, you're saying you would lend your support to legislation that would
protect their rights po, yung dalawa, because they're in a relationship of their consensus, di ba po? But yet, they're not protected under law. So ano po yun, di ba? Grabe po, minsan inuutangan yung ating LGBT, tapos tinatangay na lang yung property niya eh. We've seen so many of these cases.
Okay. Sige. How about on foreign policy? Do you have any stance, for example, on VFA? Di ba may talks to amend it, improve it? I mean, Mindanao, I know, has its own grievances about U.S. military involvement. What are your thoughts on this?
Always at the national interest, ang VFA. Of course, as a 1991 college student, I was always critical of U.S. bases. A review of the VFA to benefit us and the protection of our seas, especially the West Philippine Sea, no? That arrangement, but not to a sacrifice na naman na maibalik yung bases, no? US dito sa Pilipinas.
Okay, so parang amend lang the VFA to reflect the national interest.
And always in our interest po dapat, no? Hindi dahil conditionality na, yes, they're present in our seas, tapos may build silang installations. Hello? Kaya na nga natin pinapalis in China because of installations that they're building across.
Okay.
Protection of the seas.
All right. And then marine rehabilitation continues to be an issue. You mentioned compensation would be a priority for you, a law to protect IDPs. But how about rehabilitation as in yung groundwork happening now? Kasi alam natin yung deadline ng Duterte government for the rehab is December 2022. So malapit na yun, right? And many people, I think it's actually June or basta before the end of the term of Duterte. How would you as senator ensure that Marawi rehabilitation is better? What changes would you call for from the executive, for example?
The key principles of people-centered, transparent, accountable implementation is necessary po. Inakyat na po natin yan sa Senate since the siege, no, na kailangan po any implementation has to be with people-centeredness and evacuee voices, no. So pag walang participation din yung lokal, pwedeng sila po yung maging stumbling block, ano. So yes, we need to monitor actively, be vigilant, since public funds are being used, no, for Marawi rehab. So bantayan, fast track, a Marawi compensation board or that task force Marawi be already set up so that there's also a way by which the demands of the people, homeowners are registered, no, in national government.
Okay. And lastly, Samira, the overarching concern of many Filipinos now is the pandemic. As if you ever get into the Senate, how would you change, improve the government's pandemic response? Anong kailangan baguhin pa?
Yung hashtag po na bilis kilos is not just a hashtag, no? For me, who has worked with hospitals in the first initial lockdown, March, April, we saw how private sector collaborating with government is ASAP necessary, and therefore the framework of getting all suppliers, private sector donors to be actively helping out government na hindi kaya lahat at that time, and even now ang laki po ng contribution ng private sector. That has to be put in place po, a system or a framework of partnership and collaboration so that ASAP the needs, PPEs or what, are provided for. And of course, a crisis recovery plan para sa ating mga manggagawa, that will come along this way, especially after 2022. And that's why I believe this mayor, si Mayor Yorme, is that person who can actually actualize it. That the bilis kilos that he showed with Manila in providing medicines ASAP, nakaprovide pa nga sa Marawi eh. So these are things that are necessary in a environment of need, kagipitan.
How do you think the Duterte government should be held accountable for the controversies that have been unearthed in the Senate hearings? So formally sa pandemic spending.
We must affirm the co-equality of branches, that's so basic naman po, as a senator, we call out our co-equal branch of government, the executive, and so also the executive na ipinapakita mo rin that you're also respecting the three branches of government and show the documentation, show the necessary liquidation or necessary reporting, because that is required of you as the executive enforcer of programs and projects that were approved by Biennial Yield 1, 2, and giving you that trust. So why is it a problem to report back to Congress?
Ayan. Sorry, medyo nag-skip yung internet mo. Samira, can you just repeat the last part of what you said?
Because we're co-equal branches of government, the President and the Senate, Congress. Why will he prevent cabinet secretaries? And this has already been decided pa in the past, diba, with President then Arroyo ba, not preventing the same. Na you should allow cabinet secretaries to be there to report. So this is a way for you to report back to the people, because these are representatives of the people, itong senators and congresspersons. So why would you be afraid to report back, which is necessary, and the only place then for the public to know in a time of pandemic, they have time to watch you they have time to know and we need the trust as much sa gobyerno since we want to fight corruption.
Okay. So maraming salamat, Samira. I think this interview has at least shed light on the positions you hold on various issues. We hope that we were able to help our viewers understand you better as a candidate. Thank you so much for joining us, and to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Pia Renada, and you've been watching Rappler Talk.
Thank you, Pia.